Hey everyone, welcome back to another review and swatches video. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be reviewing and swatching the Dawson and Jeffree Star Cosmetics eyeshadow palette, Conspiracy eyeshadow palette. I also do have the Mini Controversy palette, which I will be doing a review and swatches video on that palette as well, so stay tuned for that. That should be coming in just a few days. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on this Conspiracy palette, so let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. So if you would like to see all of the swatches of the eyeshadows that come in this Conspiracy palette, and you want to hear my first impression thoughts on this palette, then just keep on watching. Now, of course, I always like to start with the outside packaging of the palette. Now, of course, in true Jeffree Star fashion, it's good quality, it feels sturdy. It's very similar to the Blood Sugar and Blue Blood palettes, kind of with that boxy appearance with the two buckles in the front. But what makes this palette a little bit more unique is the almost pyramid shape of it. Now, they kept it very subtle, which I like. That makes it very easy to, I guess, carry around and handle, because it's not like a full-on pyramid. But I do like how they added that little pyramid shape touch to the top of this palette. Now opening this palette up, there are 18 different eyeshadows. Pan sizes are pretty large, but at the same time, very Jeffree Star fashion. I feel like this is usually the pan size that he goes with for a lot of his eyeshadow palettes, but there's still a good amount of eyeshadows in each of the pans. It has a good quality mirror as well in this palette, and I honestly do not know what it is about this palette, but I am just overall so drawn to it, especially having it in person and being able to hold it in my hands. I just feel like the eyeshadow colors are so unique and beautiful looking just by looking at them. And it's like, I don't really know where I want to look first. I feel like everything's catching my eye at the same time. And I absolutely love the prints in each of the eyeshadows. I think it added an even more personal touch. So yeah, now let's move on to actually swatching the eyeshadows. So the first one we are going to be swatching is in the color Ranch, and this is a more sheer white shimmery color. And even though it is more on the sheer side, I think this would make a great highlight color, whether for the inner corners of the eyes, for the brow bone, or even maybe applying a little bit of this color throughout the face to highlight. The next color is in the name My Pills, and this is a matte pinkish and also kind of like a lighter skin color. Something that I did notice about this eyeshadow is it's not as pigmented, and it wasn't really catching my attention as much as the other ones. The next eyeshadow is in the name Tannicon, and this is a matte tan color. And I really do like this color. It's beautiful, and I think this would be a perfect crease color. The next eyeshadow is in the name Diet Root Beer, and this is another matte tan color, but I would say it's more brown and obviously darker than Tannicon, and this is another beautiful neutral color. The next eyeshadow is in the name Just a Theory, and this is kind of like a more tan but also pinkish shimmery color, and I love this color. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's pigmented, and I'm just obsessed with this color. There really isn't anything more for me to say about it other than I love it. The next eyeshadow is in the name Spiraling, and this is a slightly shimmery eyeshadow color, and it's kind of like a brownish black color. I feel like this one's a little bit harder to describe unless you're actually playing with it and seeing it in person. But I did find this color to be slightly patchy, and this was one of the eyeshadows that had the most fallout and kickback when I was swatching my finger in the eyeshadow pan. The next eyeshadow is in the name Conspiracy, perfect for the palette, and this is a green shimmery color. This is another eyeshadow that I noticed had a lot of fallout. One of the eyeshadows that had the most fallout, but I love this color. It's gorgeous, and it's definitely one of my favorites in the palette. The next eyeshadow color is in the name Pigment, and this is kind of like a watermelon pink matte eyeshadow. I did find it to be slightly patchy, but it is a pretty color, and this was also another eyeshadow that I noticed had the most fallout. Next is the color Food Videos, which is a matte bright yellow eyeshadow color, and this color was more pigmented than I thought, just because of how bright of a yellow it was. I never really have my hopes too high for these kind of colors, just because they're difficult to make, so I was pleasantly surprised with how pigmented this eyeshadow color was. It was a little bit chalky, and you definitely would probably need to put a base underneath it to get the best payoff with this color, but I was surprised by this color, definitely. The next eyeshadow is in the name Trisha, and this is a shimmery Barbie pink color, and this color is absolutely gorgeous. This was another eyeshadow that had a lot of fallout, and also something that I did notice about this eyeshadow is it did feel a little bit more chunky compared to some of the other shimmery eyeshadows in this palette. But I love this color. It's super pigmented, and it definitely feels like Trisha Paytas to me. The next eyeshadow color is in the name Cheese Dust, and this eyeshadow actually had the least amount of fallout that I noticed, and this is a matte orange color. Did find it to be slightly patchy, but overall it's a basic, pretty orange color. Next is the eyeshadow color in the name Flaming Hot, and this is a matte reddish orange color. I did find this color to be pretty pigmented, but also chalky when swatching it, so this is definitely a color that I would need to play with on my eyes. The next eyeshadow is in the name What's the Tea, and this is a matte teal color. Now, I did find this color to be slightly patchy and a little bit chalky, but overall, I do think it is a really beautiful color. Next is the eyeshadow in the name Diet Cola, and this is a shimmery silver eyeshadow. This is another eyeshadow that I found had the least amount of fallout, and this is another color that I love. It's super gorgeous and very pigmented. Next is the eyeshadow color in the name Not a Fact, and this is a matte, like plum purpley eyeshadow color, and I found this color to be really pretty and very pigmented. Another color that is definitely one of my favorites in this eyeshadow palette. The next eyeshadow is in the name Sleep Paralysis, and this is kind of like a chrome shimmery eyeshadow color, and this is another one of my favorites in this palette. It did have one of the most fallout, but it's beautiful and it's very pigmented as well. Next is the eyeshadow color Illuminati, which is a dark green shimmery color, and this is another one of my favorites in this palette. As you can see, we're definitely getting into a trend with some of these darker eyeshadow colors, but I just found this color to be beautiful and also pigmented. And last but not least, the last color in this eyeshadow palette is in the name My Rides Here, and this is a matte black eyeshadow. I did find this color to be a bit chalky, but it is pretty pigmented and just a basic black eyeshadow. So here are all 18 swatches of each of the eyeshadows that come in this palette, so now let's go ahead and get into my first impressions and final thoughts for this video. So of course, going back to the packaging, you can never go wrong with Jeffree Star Cosmetics packaging. It's good quality, it feels sturdy, it feels comfortable to hold. Absolutely love the packaging, never disappoints me. As far as the actual eyeshadows that come in this palette, I just want to read off all of my favorites that were in this palette. So the first one is Just a Theory. Next is Conspiracy, Trisha, Diet Cola, Not a Fact, Sleep Paralysis, and Illuminati. So I definitely had a good amount of favorites in this palette. I think it comes close to about half of the eyeshadows being some of my favorites and really caught my eye from swatching it. Some of the negatives that I did notice with this palette is the amount of fallout and kickback when, gliding my fingers through the eyeshadows and doing the swatches, which is something that I have heard from other people that have used this palette, so that's just something to keep in mind. And because I have heard that from other people, it wasn't something that I was super shocked about, but yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind, that a good amount of these eyeshadows do have a good amount of fallout and kickback. So definitely take it easy when you're swatching or just using this palette on your eyes. And some of the eyeshadows I did find to be not as pigmented, or maybe a little bit more chalky or chunky feeling than I would like them to feel. But I never let that be my final thoughts about a palette that I'm swatching just because it swatches. Me personally, I don't think I'm the best at swatching eyeshadows. So for that reason, if a swatch doesn't come out exactly how I want it to, or if I feel like it's not really as pigmented, or it feels a little chalky or a little weird in between my fingers and on my skin, I don't automatically hate it. I definitely always give it a second chance with, you know, using an eye primer and eyeshadow brushes and playing with the eyeshadows on my eyes at least once before I give like my yay or nay thoughts on the specific eyeshadows. But I did notice that with some of the eyeshadows, so those are just some of the negatives to keep in mind with this palette. Overall, I'm just super happy that I have this palette. I'm just so excited and happy for Shane that he has been able to do this whole series and be able to make this whole makeup line with Jeffree. I just feel like out of anyone, Shane is definitely one of the YouTubers that deserves this. So I'm so happy for him, and I'm so happy that I was able to help support this collection by purchasing a good amount of the products for it myself. So overall, just from going over the swatches and overall the packaging of this palette, I love it. I would recommend it. I'm so happy I have it in my collection, but I will definitely be doing a get ready with me video playing with these eyeshadows on my eye to get a better feel and to kind of settle my final thoughts and if I would recommend this eyeshadow palette for sure or not. But just from the swatches and the overall look and packaging of it, I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, that is it for this review and swatches video on the Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star Cosmetics Conspiracy Eyeshadow Palette. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And of course, like I mentioned in the intro of this video, I also do have the mini controversy eyeshadow palette, which I will be doing a review and swatches video on that palette, which should be coming in a few days. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the little notification bell so you know every time that I upload, and that video will be coming very, very soon. Again, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to stay tuned to my future Get Ready With Me's using this palette, as well as the mini controversy palette, and using some of the other makeup from this collection, like the liquid lips and things like that. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everyone.